This was the week that Bristol Airport revealed this glorious multi-faith area. I can't help but feel that Britain doesn't put quite as much effort into its places of worship as it used to. I mean, it's not exactly Durham Cathedral, is it? Although at Durham Cathedral, you can combine prayer with waiting for a bus. But yeah, come and kneel in cold concrete in a puddle of urine with cigarette butts floating in it and pray for dry trousers. I mean, at least when people land at Bristol Airport, they'll immediately see the most British thing in the whole of Britain. I think they just didn't know what to do with the smoking area now that smoking's banned, so they changed the sticker on it. And look at that sticker. With that picture, if it doesn't work out as a prayer zone, it can easily be repurposed using the same badge as a glory hole. Meanwhile, the Taliban have revealed a rollerblading division. Yeah, that's right, a rollerblading division. Here they are on the streets of Kabul. The Taliban clearly have no word for irony. They execute people for homosexuality, then strap on their rollerblades and wiggle their little sexy tushes in rollerblades in a very homoerotic manner. It's like the Cliff Richard wired for sound video if he was wired for a suicide bomb. It's not the Starlight Express, it's the Inshallah Light Express. It's Torval and Kareem dancing on ISIS. Yeah, I've got millions of these. He was a skater boy. She said, please don't stone me to death for wearing my hijab incorrectly. But please don't worry, we could never get rollerblading Islamic morality police here because our roads are too bad. How does Kabul have better roads than Glasgow? I don't understand. Listen, if an Islamic caliphate is the only way to get our potholes fixed, I'm all for it. There were riots in Dublin this week, sadly, after an Algerian man stabbed children in an absolutely tragic incident. Although you wouldn't know that an Algerian man has stabbed children looking at the mainstream media, the BBC said it's not clear what caused the unrest. According to them, people spontaneously started rioting and looting. The mainstream media have criticised the rioters as far-right, anti-immigrant racists. Well, let's have a look at these far-right thugs. Here he comes here. Can I just say how wonderful it is that the anti-immigrant racist community is now so diverse? That is a real sign of progress. The Irish government sprang into action to toughen hate crime laws to clamp down on criticism of children being stabbed. The message from the establishment is that being opposed to children being stabbed is far right. I'm not sure that this is going to put people off being far right. The department store Target came under fire for sexualising Christmas. They have a gay Santa with the pride flag. Well, we don't know if that Santa is gay. He might just be waving the flag. There's also this disabled black Santa. I'm not quite sure how he gets down the chimney. And there's a trans nutcracker. I mean, I suppose the great thing about a trans nutcracker is that they can do their own transition surgery. Ouch. But why do Christians get all the fun, Target? Where's the range of LGBTQIA2SL++ Ramadan ornaments? Why are you discriminating against Muslims? Maybe next year you could make a gingerbread rooftop to throw the gay Santas off. I don't know. Anyway, sexualising Christmas, I think you'll find Cliff Richard got there first. Take it away, Cliff. Look at those moves. Look at that jaunty leg flick. Yeah, I'm going to crowbar a Cliff Richard reference into everything tonight. And that's been the curse word. And I'm joined tonight by the journalist and broadcaster Nicky Hodgson, the comedian Diane Spencer, and the broadcaster and lawyer Andrew Eborn. Well, let's discuss the riots in Dublin and start by looking at a quote from Irish Taoiseach, that's the sort of Prime Minister, Leo Varadkar. He said, these criminals did not do what they did because they love Ireland. They did not do what they did because they wanted to protect Irish people. They did not do it out of any sense of patriotism, however warped. They did so because they're filled with hate. They love violence, they love chaos, and they love causing pain to others. Nicky, is Varadkar right? Are these protesters motivated by hate?
They're motivated by something negative, and I think that's probably want, not hate.
Right.
I mean, I get the vibe that these are people that are discontent with the government that they have. They feel that maybe they're not having enough access to education, that, you know, prices are too high, cost of living is driving them out of their homes, and they're annoyed because they're just annoyed. And this has become the litmus paper for their anger.
You really think that if lemons were 10 pence cheaper in Lidl, then these people wouldn't have rioted?
Yeah.
You don't think it's about the immigration policy at all? I mean, Diane, we've seen the Irish government, as a lot of governments do across the West, pretty much ignore people's wishes on immigration and just have radical open borders policy. I mean, we've seen gross migration of 1.2 million people entering the UK to the year June 2023. Just in 1 year, 1.2 million people. But the equivalent in Ireland, with its population, they've had 2 million people. They've had the same, equivalent size as the UK. I mean, do you think people are just, they want to be listened to and maybe have more sensible immigration policies?
I think that they do want to be listened to. They do want to have more sensible immigration policies. And when the looting starts, they do want new trainers. We must not forget that 'tis the season to be jolly and going shopping. And so when you do have the opportunity to potentially smash the window of JD Sports and get Christmas presents for the entire family, you do sort of leap on that. What was interesting was I read an article where somebody who was ever so high up in the Irish Parliament, I'm terribly sorry, I can't remember the reference, said that this feeling had been building for months.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could look at that two ways. You could say, OK, so there is a sentiment there where as soon as this happened, people went, oh, my God, I can't believe somebody's attacked. Let's underline this. A school with little children who are currently in hospital. So we must not forget what has triggered this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's enough to send anybody
And it comes
fury.
It comes on the back of murders of gay men in Sligo that were targeted by an Islamist, because they're gay. So we're seeing, these ideologically driven knife attacks across Europe. And one thing that worries me, Andrew, and you're as a lawyer, you'll be able to give some insight into this, is that Leo Varadkar, the Irish Taoiseach or Prime Minister, he came out and he said we're going to rush through hate crime laws, and then he sounded like he was going to apply it retroactively to the CCTV footage, which that's unconstitutional. That's against the Irish Constitution.
And some of the existing laws are good enough. And what tends to happen, I've really dug into the story trying to get it, because the first casualty in any war is the truth.
Yeah.
And looking at this sort of stuff, what's happened is they've been radicalised by social media is what's happened. And they look at this, and actually the reality, the rumour started that it was an illegal immigrant who basically went around shooting these poor children in that terrible situation. The reality, it appears to have been an Irish citizen who's been an Irish citizen for 20 years. Now, the media not yet reporting that, and so we need to look at that. But totally, what my new best friend, because she makes wonderful fudge, it's true. We've been having fudge porn all day. It's glorious. What I love about the point is, if the real objection is about the shooting and all that sort of stuff, you don't go looting, do you? That's not your first point of call.
Absolutely. You protest in a civilised manner. You say, we're against what just happened, or we've got a problem with immigration. You don't just go nicking stuff. You don't just go nicking stuff.
Nicky, come on. During Black Lives Matter riots, you think nobody was nicking some new Nikes then?
Yeah, but it didn't start out with them nicking stuff, did it?
I think it.
This was
Black Lives Matter riots, there was just wanton destruction on a large scale.
It didn't start out as somebody's been murdered and therefore we're going to go nick stuff.
Neither did this. There have been protests for weeks, for months outside.
But this was directly. This is the excuse that's being used for people to say, I'm annoyed. I don't like how we're living. I don't like this government. Yeah. Something else that's really important about this story, and it was only reported in one paper, is that the man who attacked the children is apparently. He has psychosis, right. And that's the line of thought that the police are pursuing, and that's really important because have you been psychotic? Because I have actually. Oh, really? I've had a psychotic breakdown. I'm writing about it. You don't need knives to be psychotic. Right. You just need to be absolutely bonkers.
A bit safer if you don't have knives.
Yeah, probably a bit safer. But what I'm trying to say is, if you are psychotic, you will plan to do things that make no logical sense to anybody else, but to you in your crazed chemical state, because it's not induced by chemicals, it's your brain on fire basically. Yeah. You would do something totally insane like this. So I think it's important that we establish, has the attacker actually got a really serious mental health thing going on? Wow. Or are they just kind of vindictive?
Or have they been radicalised online?
Well, I think there's two things. Radicalised online is the backlash to what's happened. What they're saying, and everybody's saying
who's radicalised online? The stabber or the
both by the sounds of it, but also the individual concern. They do say it's not part of an organised terrorist or anything like that. It's an individual, and Nicky makes a brilliant point, because mental illness, no joking aside, there are people with serious issues. We need to look at that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
But the reaction is what they're talking about, the radicalisation. So the reaction to what happened, this terrible thing, what's now the focus is all about the people who are rioting or the person who did it, as opposed to the real victims, who are, what is it? It's like a 5-year-old girl is in a critical condition in hospital, female carer isn't in her 30s, is in a serious condition, and the girl 6 remains in hospital, but the boy 5 has just been discharged. The focus should be on the victims, and let's look at that.
But the rioters should think about that, shouldn't they? The rioters shouldn't go out rioting, putting the focus on them when they report innocent people in hospital.
But the establishment hasn't reported on the establishment has barely mentioned the actual victims. They're almost tiptoeing around the fact.
But isn't that more about giving people a bit of peace and quiet when they're in hospital?
Yeah, but when I heard that this happened, I looked it up on. First of all, I went to the BBC website, and that was a mistake because I couldn't work out why there were riots.
Yeah,
it didn't actually outline it, and I thought, okay, so I'm looking at this article, thinking, oh my gosh, these people have been attacked, and there are riots, and I couldn't. There was no connection within the article. So that is something that, like, what the trusted Verify media managed to omit.
But it's a great example of what you have to do now, because we're drowning in a sea of information, most of which is false. So you have to get your news from a number of different sources.
Like GB News.
Like GB News. From Leo's show here tonight, we'll give you the facts. It's got to be.
And I just think the establishment would have been shouting about it a lot more if it had been a right-wing person who'd committed the attack.